Hey everybody, it's Claire Daly here, coming to you from sunny Melbourne, Australia. It's a beautiful day down here, early 30s degrees Celsius, and days like this make me think about the garden. So today we're going to be making a vintage thank you card featuring Nature's Harvest, which is one of the stamp sets from the July to December mini catalogue. So I hope you enjoy seeing this card made from start to finish. If you've got any questions, just pop the questions down below and I'll be happy to help you out with them. So today we're going to be playing with Nature's Harvest and the coordinating harvest dies. So these are available in a bundle in the July to December mini catalogue. Now they will be carrying over, which is great news, so you'll still be able to buy them after the 2nd of January, but you won't be able to buy them in a bundle. So I really recommend, if you're wanting to save 10% and you really love this bundle like I do, grab it before the 2nd of January, and that way you'll save 10% by buying them together. So it's the stamp set. I'll give you a quick look at the dies. So in addition to the bits and pieces that cut out and some foliage there, there's some additional foliage in there which doesn't coordinate with the stamp set, and there's also a couple of labels which are great for these bits and pieces here. So I think it goes with the thank you and that one there. So that's great for the dies. So let's get on to making our card. Okay, the very first step that I want to do is to stamp my image onto my Fluid 100 watercolor paper. Now I'm using watercolor pencils in today's card, so I want to be using watercolor paper, and because I'm going to be adding water, I'm going to be stamping in the Stays On ink pad. So whenever you want to watercolor with ink or watercolor pencils, you use the Stays On, and whenever you want to color using the Stampin' blends, you use Memento Black. So just a reminder about that. So let's we'll pop down the stamp where I want it. So I'm going to cut this out, so we'll go down here to use up the edge there, so we don't waste any paper. Okay, so I will be, make sure that you get to see all of this, stamping up. Now the benefit of using the Stamparatus in this situation is because watercolor is a little bit hard to get a great image, so you can stamp it once and then you can stamp it in exactly the same page, ink it up again and stamp it in exactly the same place so that you're getting a really good image. So I think I might just give it a little bit more, one more go. So I'm inking that up again. And we'll just give it one more go. So it's going to stamp in exactly the same spot. Yeah, that's much better. I'm happy with that. So let's remove this. We'll just pop these back on their little spot on the back of the Stamparatus, and I will move and I will clean my stamp in a tick. So I find that even if you're using Stays On, and even though we've got Stays On Cleaner, if you're quick enough you can clean it quite easily just using our normal stamp cleaner, the Stampin' Mist and the Stampin' Scrub. That's what I normally do, clean it straight away. And here's the other side and we're right to go. And that one I left a couple of little bit longer. I should still be able to clean. Yeah, that's cleaning up fine. So they were both Stays On and they've cleaned off fine using the Stampin' Mist and the Stampin' Scrub. Good old. So I'm going to be using a combination of watercolor pencils here. So the colors I'm using are a combination of the two watercolor sets that we've actually got in the catalogue. So on page 126 we've got an assortment 1 and an assortment 2. So my colours, I've just popped them all in one pencil case and I just select the colours that I want, but I've got both of those collections. So you might find if you've only got one that you don't have some of the colours. So the colours I'm going to be using for the actual cone flower, I'm going to be using a combination of Melon Mambo, Gorgeous Grape, and a bit of rich raspberry in there as well. And then I will be using a little bit of white perhaps over the top of that to if I need to tone down some of those areas, we will see. Then for the top bit here, I'm going to be using Cajun Craze and also a little bit of early espresso perhaps. And then for the greenery, I'm going to be using Granny Apple Green for some of the highlights, but mostly garden green. So that's the colours I've chosen to use, and let's get started. So I think I will start with the stems. I'm just going to go down one side here with the garden green. And then also a bit at the bottom there of each one. Bit at the top, on the sides there. I love making botanical cards. Gardening is my other passion besides card making, as many of you will know. So any of the botanical cards I really enjoy making. So this is quite rough, but what's going to happen later is we're going to actually use the water painter to blend in some of the colour. So it will, now I'm just going to add a little bit of the Granny Apple Green. I don't want it to be too full on, and at the moment it looks like, whoa, that's really quite full on, but when we combine all of the colours, I think you'll find it doesn't look so bad. Let's hope anyway. Oops, I haven't done this one here. So this is good old echinacea or cone flower. We are colouring today. Now the next one I might do is I might do the top bits of the cone flower in Cajun Craze, and then I might add a little bit of early espresso around the outsides. Now this one's a bit tricky, so I might come back to that one, have a little look in the catalogue and see if one's been coloured as to what to do with that little bit underneath, or have a look at some real life cone flowers. So you can see just using the darker colours just to add a little bit of contrast in the colour. So I had a little look, and it seems like this little bit underneath here would normally be green. So let's just, that would be the bit that would open up to allow the flower. So let's do that. Now let's do the actual flower. Now you can actually get cone flowers in a wide variety of colours. I was really surprised about that. At first I thought you could only get them in that like purpley colour, which is what I'm going to be colouring today. But you can actually get white ones, you can get sort of orangey colour. So if you look up echinacea or coneflower online, you'll be really surprised at all of the different colours, especially a lot of the heirloom from a lot of the heirloom seed distributors. I've really got into growing things from seed this year, so that's really exciting. And I'm really finding that as a nice little other outlet besides stamping, as a relaxation. So got all sorts of things growing, zucchinis and cucumbers and lettuce and sage and kale and all sorts of spinach, all sorts of goodies growing in the garden at the moment. And some new seeds, various seeds, flowers, zinnias, because it's summer over here in Australia, coming up. Okay. So what I'm doing here is this is the Melon Mambo, and I'm just really adding the base layer before I add some other highlight colours in there. So, and again, your colouring doesn't need to be perfect because it's going to be smoothed out a little bit with the colours will be smoothed together a little with the water painter in a tick. Okay, so now I'm going to go with the Gorgeous Grape, and I'm going to add some of the darker colours in here. Oh, it's so pretty. And I'm just going over the edge of each of these petals, and then I will blend it in a little bit just for a bit of extra variation. And then quite close to the center bit here, I'm adding a little bit of the color too. If you've watched any of my other watercoloring videos, you'll know that I'm not an extremely precise colorer, but I quite like, that's sort of my style of card making as well. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I quite like that. So I've laid down all of my colour, and what I might do now is get out the water painter and do a little bit of blending, and then I can dry that off and see if there's any other colours I want to lay down. Okay, so I've got my water painters. So we've got 3 sizes. The water painters are on page 129 in the annual catalogue. They come in a pack of 3, so you get a really broad one, which is great for doing water washes, backgrounds, a medium one for large areas, and then you get a small one for smaller areas, which is what I'm going to be using today. I find it really handy to have a paper towel or an old flannel or something on the side when you're watercolouring. And just make sure, and you want to have a bit of water in there. Now on the side here, push. If you're wanting to add some more water, that's where you how you make it come through. So really what we're doing here is we are just blending the colour together. We're not trying to, I really love it. So we're starting off with the petals. So we want to still see a bit of variation between the Melon Mambo and the Gorgeous Grape, which we're managing to achieve because there were some white spots there as well. So the Melon Mambo is just covering those. And I just love watercolouring on this Fluid 100 paper. It's a really great watercolour paper. It's cotton and it holds and blends beautifully. So I'm really happy with this. So definitely, whoopsie, a little bit over, never mind. There we go. So when you want to change colours, actually I might just blend those down a little bit more. When you want to change colours, it's just a matter of on your cloth, just making sure that that's running clean, which it is, and then you can get on to the next bit. So I'm going to do the greens now. So you can see the areas that were left white, the colour's just being carried into them. And so this one here where I've got the granny apple green and the garden green, we can actually combine those colours and draw the colour up there. And that's how you get variations in the shade. I think I might actually add a little bit more garden green to those big leaves there in a tick. So everything that I'm using today, I will provide details of down below and a link to my store as to where you can find these products. Everything that I'm using today will be available right through to the end of the annual catalogue, the current annual catalogue, which doesn't end until the end of May 2022. So that's good. You can get those and make these cards for yourself. And you don't have to use the greetings in the stamp set. You can add your own greetings in there. So what I'm going to do, I want to add a little bit of extra green, but what I want to do is actually dry that off so I get a true indication of the depth of the colour. So I'm going to grab my heat gun and do that now. Okay. Just give it a blast with the heat gun. That's dried off nicely, and now you can get a better indication of how the color is going to be. So I can see that this one here is a little bit too green for me, so I want to add in some more of the garden green, a little bit too granny apple green. Add a bit more of that, and a bit more there. Still want to leave a little bit of the variation. Okay, with those, and then I'd add a little bit more of the pink in those spots and blend that in. And then when it's finally dry, I'm actually going to add some white highlights over the top of that as well. So I will just so we're under green. That colour's blending out really nicely. If it's not blending, just check you've actually got enough water on the end of the brush. So when you do that, you make a little bit of mistake like I just did then. Get off, just actually come by and pick that up with some water. You can lighten that a lot by just using water. Okay, so now I think I'm happy with the leaves. Just blend those in a bit. bit more there, and a little bit more in there. I'm not sure whether I went over that or not, so we'll just do that anyway. Okay, so now I just want to do the last bit over here to blend in those extra Melon Mambo bits that I placed in there. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So just another quick blast of the heat gun to dry those before I add in the white. I just realised I don't think I have blended the actual cone bit. No, I haven't up the top. I'll just pop a little bit of that down the bottom. Pick up a little of that. So for my final step, I just want to add a few highlights. Oh, where there might be a bit of light on the flower. A little bit hard on that one, but where the dimension of the flower would be sort of coming out towards you and more likely to catch the light, I just wanted to lighten those bits. Then that's a really good way to use your white pencil. So I'm quite happy with how that's turned out. So my next step is to die cut that, and I will get my mini Stampin' cut and emboss machine, because it's a small die, it should fit through there. So I really love being able to just have the mini Stampin' cut and emboss, the mini boss machine, on my desk, because it's really handy. It doesn't take up much space, and so many of the dies fit through it. So I've got the plates down. I've got my base plate, whoops, this one here, the base plate, and I've got my bottom acrylic plate. I'm going to pop that on top. Actually, I'll line these up here just so it's easier for me to see. Now I use a little bit of old washi tape, but you can use various types of tape just to hold that in place, and I always make sure I do it in an area that's not going to touch the stamping. So I usually do it in 2 different spots, so I'll just grab a couple of little bits. Pretty happy with that. So I'll do it down here where it's not actually touching the stamping, but it is holding it in place, and I will do it up the top as well. Again, not touching the stamping, but is holding in place. All right, so let's pop this in the mini boss. Pop this in, ease it into the machine, and away we go. this way for good measure and see how we go. Perfect. So there we have, I love how it cuts those little bits out as well. There we have our watercolored image, and we're ready to do the rest of our card. So we're going to use a craft card base. So I'll just fold that in half. Bone folder. And it's a little bit crooked. Don't you hate that? That's okay, because we can fix it. There we go. It's better. Perfect. Now for the next layer, I have embossed a piece of crumb cake cardstock with the Time Worn Type embossing folder, which is also carrying over from the mini catalogue. And I absolutely love the vintage look of this. So I've cut it 1/2 centimetre smaller all the way around, so it's a little bit less there, like so. And then for your sandwich, I've done this one in the big one, so it's sort of off screen, but because this is a thick embossing folder, for your sandwich you need your base plate number 1, and then you need your cardstock in your embossing folder, and then you need this plate here, which is for the thick embossing folders. So this plate is called, the specialty plate. So specialty base plate, the base platform, your embossing folder, always pop it through the machine. Don't worry about that sticky bit, it was just because I closed it to take a photo. I must remove that with my adhesive remover. In fact, when I just remove it with my fingers. When you're embossing, always pop it through hinge first, that's really important, and then your specialty plate on top. So that's how I embossed with the Time Worn Type embossing folder. And then I might mess that up a little bit around the edges to give it a bit of a, so I'm just sort of curling it with my fingernail, messing it up a little bit. Just to give it a bit of a vintage look. And we'll also ink that a little as well. Okay, so I've got the crumb cake ink pad and a sponge dauber, and we're just going to ink around the edges of that to give it a little bit more definition, which adds to the sort of vintagey effect. Sponge daubers are great for this, and if you're looking for some awesome labels for your sponge daubers, like these ones I've got here, which I can individually label each one, and they're so durable, they're fantastic labels. You can get these from my friend Madonna, who's Bold Badger Design, and I will pop the link down below. So they're really reasonably priced, and you can also get markers for your Stampin' blends, and you can also, labels for your Stampin' blends. If you find the teeny tiny writing on them hard to read, Madonna's got some really great big labels, and you can also get colour labels for your filing system for your cardstock. I'm not sponsored in any way, not getting any commission or anything, I just think they're really useful, and I really like supporting small business. So yes, get over there if you'd like some labels. Okay, so I really like how that's turned out. So what we're going to do now is to add some adhesive. I'm just going to use Stampin' Seal. On the middle for good luck. Make sure I've got the writing up the correct way, because I have been known to do that. And you can't really even tell. Oh yeah, that appears to be the correct way. Can't really tell, but oops, up a little bit. Okay, so that's that layer of the card done. Now the next thing I think I might do is I think I might actually cut one of these tasteful tags. Are they called tailor-made tags? Sorry. Cut one of these and use that as a base to pop up my flower and then pop my greeting on there. I think that's what I'll do. So I have my crumb cake scraps here. Let's find one. I get these A5 envelopes just at Officeworks. I find them really great size for using for my scraps. So I don't want one that's being folded. Any of these will do. Okay, so we can just pop that there. Pop the top on. And gradually feed that into the machine. And we've got our label or our tag. Okay, so I'm going to pop this one up a couple of times. So we'll do one at the top here. Just randomly, just gives a bit more of that texture. Yep, that's good. And then we'll also just play around with that a little bit to loosen it up. This isn't a clean and simple card. This is a very bendy, folded, vintage card. And we can even get our crumb cake and add a little bit of to the top of some of these too, while I'm at it. Take away some of that bright white. More over here. Okay, I think that will be, I'll be happy with that. So now I'm going to have a look at which greeting I'm going to use, and I also want to get some twine to pop on there too. Okay, I have made some decisions about how I'm going to finish off my card, and I'm really excited because in the process of thinking how I would embellish, I remembered about some brand new sneak peek embellishments I've got from the new 2022 January to June mini catalogue. So I want to show you those because I'm going to use one on the card. So there's these gorgeous coloured doilies. So they're in cinnamon cider, which is the one I think which perfectly matches here. Looks really great with the top there, but also looks really great with the gorgeous grape. We've also got basic grey and misty moonlight. So they're coming soon, and if you are one of my regular customers, you'll be getting your mini catalogue mailed out soon. I ordered them early this morning actually. If you're not a customer yet and you don't have a regular demonstrator you do business with, there's a link below to be able to grab a catalogue from me. So just pop your details on there and I'll send one out to you for free as well. So I'm going to be using one of these on the cards today, and also we might even use one of these gorgeous new brushed brass butterflies, so say that really fast, which is a new embellishment as well. So we'll see about that one. I've also got some of the twine from the Basics twine because I think that goes great, and I am also going to use the thank you stamp because it fits within this lovely little label here, which is what I would like. So I'm going to stamp that in Early Espresso. Not quite dark enough for me. Probably my ink pad might need re-inking. Or maybe I was just a bit blasé. Yeah, that's okay. I'm happy with that. That really suits the style of my card. So I'm going to cut this paper doily in half because I only want to use half of it. And if I bend them over, A, you're wasting it, and 2, you also get the white shining through, which is not what I want. I want the crumb cake to be shining through. So I'll pop that in the packet to use on another card. And so we'll cut this out with the mini Stampin' Emboss, mini boss. Where's my base? Where's my other plate gone? Tell me I'm not the only messy crafter. I know that I'm not. Here we go. So this die actually comes within the coordinating dies, the same set that I cut out the, whoops, we need to add a little bit of washi, the same set that I cut out the flowers from, so that's great. I love when they do that, include a couple of label dies because it gives you a lot more versatility. So never have too many thank you cards, can you? I like sending them out to customers, but also there's so many people that help me in my Stampin' Up business in various ways throughout the year, so it's good to say thank you to them as well. So, and like my lovely cleaning lady who's coming tomorrow, I'm very grateful for her because that means that I can be making cards and showing all of you. And okay, so we've got our label. Oh, I was thinking that was a little bit on the back, but that was because I'd cut it out. That was the one I'd stamped on the back. All is well with the world. Let's grab this again and just do a little bit on the edges. I sort of want to, I say dirty everything up, but really just make it look sort of a bit old and vintage. Like myself some days, a bit old and vintage. It's all good. It's a bit warm here in Melbourne today, and I laugh when I say warm because we haven't had all of spring. We haven't gone above 30 degrees Celsius, and like just about the last day of spring, yesterday and today, it's like 31 or 33 or something, and I'm like got the air conditioning on and my summer dresses on, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm dying, which is really quite humorous, I think. And I know that my sister Kate will laugh at that. She watches my videos because she's in Perth and that's like probably a relatively cool day for her. Oh, I'm really loving how this is going to look. So all I want to do now is I want to add some of my twine there. So I've just doubled it to start with. And then I will pop it through. So in this tailor-made tag die set, you actually get little reinforcements as well, but I'm quite happy just to use these ones. She says that she cannot get the 4 layers through. Here we go. I like doubling up the twine for some reason. Not quite sure. I just like the extra texture, I think. So you don't want to pull it too much. And then get your 2 strands. And tie a little bow. And then on the one that is like here, just want to cut that so we don't have that looped, and then just make sure it's around about the same length. So we'll cut a little bit off these ones. Okay. So what I'm going to do is first of all, I'm going to just adhere this one down straight onto the card base. So about here, I think. Yep. Okay, so next I'm going to pop up the tag with some dimensionals. So on the back we will add a few dimensionals. Like so. Now I might off-center that a little bit. So I think I want to pop that up as well. So on the top bits here, I'll just have to see which bits are actually going to be on the card. So this bit and this bit are going to be on the card. So I just want to make sure I put the dimensionals on the bit which is going to be on there. And with these little bits down the bottom, I might cut a couple of dimensionals in half. And pop those on there. And probably 2 more. So that's stuck down nicely. So the last step is to pop my sentiment. Now what I want to do is I want to pop, I'll probably adhere it straight onto the card there, but just pop a dimensional underneath there so that it matches up, so it sort of sits right, because these are already popped up, but this side over here isn't popped up. So we'll pop a dimensional. Hope you understood all of that. Sort of sounded a little bit confusing, but I know what I'm talking about. Okay. There we go. And maybe let's have a look at these little brushed brass butterflies. Whoa, that's going to be a mouthful. I think I might just pop one just right there above the sentiment. Let's pop it there and see how it looks. I might change it to a smaller one, but we'll just pop it there. Actually, no, I think that's a really good size. I think that and the brass and everything, I think that looks great. What do you think? So let's finish off our card. So we always have to pop something on the inside, and what I've got for that is a piece of basic white cardstock, which I've cut 1/2 centimetre both sides, smaller than the card base, and I'm just going to open my ink pad, and I've got the same stamp that I used to watercolour, and I'm just going to stamp that off once slightly, and then I'm going to stamp it in the corner here. So just to tie in the front of the card to the center bit, and then I will just adhere that in a tick with some, in fact let's do it right now. And then your card's all ready to write in. I have a habit of not doing this part until later, and then I go to grab a card and I think, oh, I need to do the center for it. So I'm trying really hard to do my centers. So if you see me making a card and I don't do the centers, make sure you call me out, okay? Because that's just not good enough. There we go. So we've done that. And the very last thing, if you've ever listened to Shelley Gardner, the co-founder and board chair of Stampin' Up, you will know you can never leave your envelopes bare. So we are going to stamp the envelope, and I think I won't stamp off this time because there's plenty of real estate on the envelope. So we're just going to stamp like so, and then we'll be able to pop that card in the mail with the beautiful coordinating envelope and the coordinating bit in the middle with our lovely message that we're going to write. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video and making this vintage thank you card with me. As I mentioned, I love anything floral, so I've really enjoyed making this card. I loved showing you a couple of sneak peeks, and I love showing you a couple of the tricks that I used to create that vintage effect. The time-worn type embossing folder, oh my goodness, if you love vintage, it's absolutely amazing. It's such a beautiful folder, and you've really got to get hold of that. So that one's, as I said, in the current mini catalogue, but it is carrying over as well. So if you've enjoyed today's card, I'd really love for you to subscribe to my channel and to hit that little bell so that you will be told when I've got a new video coming out. And I look forward to creating with you again soon. So if you would like to get a tutorial from me each week in your mailbox and you live in Australia, your email mailbox that is, and you live in Australia, there's a link down below to subscribe to my mailing list, and I'll send out to my Australian subscribers, I send out a tutorial each week as well. So yeah, enjoy. Thank you very much.